Between February 1692 and May 1693, the infamous Salem Witch Trials shook the small village of Salem in the Massachusetts Bay Colony. A series of hearings and prosecutions targeted individuals accused of witchcraft, leading to a community gripped by fear and hysteria. Over 150 people were accused, 19 were executed, and countless others were imprisoned, plunging the region into chaos. Was it a curse brought on by dark forces, or was there something more mysterious at play? The turmoil can be traced back to February 1692, when two young girls, Betty Parris, age 9, and Abigail Williams, age 11, began exhibiting bizarre symptoms. Betty and Abigail were nieces of Reverend Samuel Parris, and their strange behavior, including convulsions, hallucinations, and erratic actions, raised alarm. Soon, other girls in the village reported similar symptoms. The community was quick to embrace a supernatural explanation, blaming witchcraft and demonic influence. By March, the trials escalated, and as panic spread, more and more villagers claimed to be afflicted. In just 7 months, the accusations spiraled out of control. Over 150 people were charged with witchcraft, 19 were executed, and others were held in prison under suspicion. At the time, no doctor seemed able to explain the strange symptoms experienced by the girls accused of being bewitched during the Salem Witch Trials. It wasn't until nearly 300 years later, in 1976, that Dr. Linda Caporael proposed a new theory to explain the bizarre events. She suggested that the cause might have been ergot, Claviceps purpurea, a fungus that grows on rye, a staple in the diet of the time. Ergot produces compounds similar to LSD, which can cause hallucinations, seizures, and unusual behavior. This theory was welcomed as a scientific alternative to supernatural superstition. The weather conditions in Salem in 1691, wet summers and cold winters, were ideal for the growth of ergot. However, the hypothesis has its shortcomings. One major issue is that hallucination symptoms were not consistent among the victims. In actual cases of ergot poisoning, symptoms tend to be uniform, as everyone is affected by the same toxin. In Salem, however, the range and severity of symptoms varied greatly, from seizures and loss of control to accusations and strange behavior. The illness also seemed to focus primarily on young girls and didn't spread throughout the broader community. If ergot poisoning were the cause, it's likely the entire community would have been affected, with symptoms appearing simultaneously and more recognizably, as rye was widely consumed. Building on the points mentioned earlier, another plausible explanation for the Salem Witch Trials is the social tensions of the time. Land disputes between wealthy families and farmers, along with religious conflicts between Salem Village and Salem Town, were significant contributors to the societal strain that led to the trials. Salem Village, primarily an agricultural community, was conservative and loyal to Puritan traditions. In contrast, Salem Town was more commercially focused and religiously progressive. A key factor was the conflict between two influential families, the Putnams and the Porters. Many of the witchcraft accusations in the 1692 trials originated from the Putnam faction, suggesting that personal animosities and vested interests may have been exploited during the crisis. The accusations often targeted marginalized individuals, outspoken or independent women, and those seen as different by societal standards. For example, Sarah Good, a woman considered unconventional, became an easy target. Similarly, the poor, like Sarah Osborne, were not spared. Tituba, an indigenous Caribbean woman enslaved at the time, was the first to confess to witchcraft. However, it is believed that she was coerced into confessing to avoid harsher punishments. These cases highlight the deep-seated discrimination of the era and how societal divisions played a critical role in fueling the chaos of the Salem Witch Trials. Public support for the Salem Witch Trials began to decline when the use of spectral evidence came under scrutiny. While it may sound bizarre to modern society, at the time, spectral evidence, claims of seeing spirits or apparitions, was a critical basis for convicting alleged witches. This concept had precedent, appearing in earlier cases such as the 1662 witch trials in Bury St Edmunds, England. During that trial, Amy Denny and Rose Cullender, two elderly residents of Lowestoft, Suffolk, were accused of witchcraft. Notably, Matthew Hale, one of the most influential legal minds of the 17th century, accepted the use of spectral evidence in the proceedings. Reports indicate that the Salem judges referred to these earlier trials as a justification for their decisions, even 30 years later. However, the reliance on spectral evidence ultimately undermined the validity of the accusations. Pressure mounted from influential figures like Increase Mather, a devout Puritan. In his 1692 work, Cases of Conscience Concerning Evil Spirits, Mather warned against over-reliance on spectral evidence, arguing that accusations based on visions or apparitions were unreliable and could lead to wrongful convictions. He famously stated, "It is better that 10 guilty persons escape than one innocent person suffer." Mather's cautious stance reflected a growing demand for reform in legal practices. This placed pressure on the colonial government led by Governor William Phips. Initially, Phips supported the court's activities, delegating leadership to Lieutenant Governor William Stoughton. Stoughton, known for his rigid demeanor and unwavering belief in spectral evidence, presided over trials that resulted in the hanging of 19 people and the gruesome death of Giles Corey, who was pressed to death under heavy stones for refusing to plead. While the ergotism hypothesis can explain some of the physical and psychological symptoms, such as seizures or hallucinations, it falls short of fully accounting for the events in Salem. Social and cultural factors, such as personal grudges, collective fear, and deeply ingrained prejudices, appear to have played a much larger role. Conflicts between powerful families, land disputes, and economic pressures provided opportunities for accusations aimed at punishing or weakening rivals. Simultaneously, biases against women, the poor, and marginalized groups fueled collective hysteria, making baseless accusations seem credible in the eyes of the community. Those directly involved in the judgments and accusations during the Salem Witch Trials faced consequences of varying degrees. Judge Samuel Sewall, a key figure in the trials, he publicly apologized in 1697, taking personal responsibility for his errors and dedicating the rest of his life to expressing remorse. Ann Putnam Jr., one of the most active accusers, she also issued a public apology in 1706, admitting that her actions had caused the deaths of many innocent people. Judge William Stoughton, a staunch defender of spectral evidence, he never issued a public apology. However, his reputation suffered significantly, and he became a symbol of injustice. Others involved in the trials also faced criticism and were ostracized by their communities after the trials concluded. Salem has since become a powerful symbol in American culture, famously depicted in works like Arthur Miller's play The Crucible, which underscores the dangers of fanaticism and societal pressure. Today, Salem is a popular tourist destination, known for its museums and annual Halloween festivals. However, it also serves as a place of remembrance for the victims of injustice.